showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know. Now it's showtime.
Well, Trump finally said what we know he's thinking right out loud. We're going to talk about that as he goes to China. Also, a surprise murder conviction is overturned. It happens to be someone that's rich and white. No surprise there. And why are gay pride flags so triggering? It is the Karel Show. I am Karel. Good morning, everyone. So glad you're joining me on this Wednesday, May 13th. 10 a.m. my time, already in the 80s outside. All right, we got a lot to talk about today, including why is this right here one of the most triggering things? Oh, look at the green. You can see through the green. Why is this one of the most triggering things around? We're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about this Alex Murdaugh trial. We've all seen the documentaries. We know he's guilty as sin, but court just overturned both his murder convictions. I'll tell you why. And Donald Trump is in China. We have lowered our expectations over what he is going to do there. Let's just hope he doesn't get us into a war. Isn't it crazy? Isn't it just crazy that when Trump goes to meet other world leaders, we have to now be afraid that he's going to say something to totally piss them off and get us in some kind of war because the guy is just horrific and horrible. That is so crazy. That's one of the weirdest things to me. Hello to everyone in the chat room at youtube.com/reallykarel. Don't forget, like, subscribe. If you're a patron, we're having a 5:30 Patreon call this Sunday. The link has already been posted. If you didn't get it, I'll be sending it out again on Friday and again on Sunday. So you'll get the link. But it's already there at Patreon, and we'll talk to you all on Sunday at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time if you're one of my 100 patrons who I love and adore and can't thank enough. In the chat room at youtube.com/reallykarel. Hi to the locals, Granny and Sandy and Phineas. I'm sure will be here any moment, and Jim and just everybody, my regulars. So we've got a lot to talk about today. And, you know, yesterday we talked. Well, some of you think I talked too much, but whatever. Yesterday, we talked with someone about the SNAP program and how people are being kicked off, the work requirements impossible to fulfill. The income levels have changed to where if you make 50 cents, you can't get SNAP. And basically, we talked about poor people. That's what we talked of which, by the way, according to the charts, I'm lower middle class. So I guess I could be considered one of them. And although I have a home and stuff like that. But Trump was asked, when you're going into the bargaining table for Iran, do you ever consider what it's doing to Americans and the American economy? And he said, no, I don't consider Americans' financial well-being when I'm negotiating with Iran. All I care about is they don't have a nuclear weapon. So a seated president, said, no, I don't think about America's financial well-being, Americans, people. And of course he doesn't. Billionaires don't. I've known so many rich people in my life. I wish I was one. But I've known so many rich people in my life. And the last thing they think about is the plight of people with less money than they have. Because in their world, everybody has as much money as they have. They surround themselves with people who have enough money. And so they don't think about your needs or my needs or how anything they do affects us. CEOs of big corporations, before they make a corporate move, they don't consider how it's going to affect the finances of their consumers. When car manufacturers manufacture cars and slap a price tag on there, they don't consider that $50 or $60 or $40,000 is more than Americans should be or can be paying for a vehicle. At the grocery store, when they're slapping the prices on the food, they don't care how that's going to affect your bottom line. The CEOs of Kroger and and all of the big, Walmart and all of them, the Waltons, they don't consider your bottom line. And so Donald Trump, he just falls right into that category, and presidents aren't supposed to say that kind of stuff. A president's supposed to care about the people of the United States. They're not supposed to say that stuff, even if they feel it. They're not supposed to say it out loud and make us feel like crap. Now, how he still has any followers, I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. How this man has anybody that believes in him and thinks that he's a good guy, I don't know. But he's not. And now he has said out loud, I don't care. I don't think about their finances. There's a special place in hell.
Visiting reallykarel.com daily? You're missing out. Get the podcast, videos, and the blog, including recipes at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
And as we talk about how great it is to be rich and white, look at Murdoch, the Alex Murdoch trial. Now look, I've seen like 4 documentaries on the guy because I watch all these murder, death, kill shows. And I watched the drama with Patricia Arquette. I am fully convinced, 1,000%, that he killed his wife and son. I'm also fully convinced that his other son was in a gay affair and ran the homosexual over and killed him and has never been brought to trial. Nobody has ever, I'm sure you all probably heard this. The Murdoch story is just such a weird story. But the son, it all started with the son getting in a boating accident. Okay? The son was driving a boat when he shouldn't have been driving a boat. He got into a wreck. 2 people died. Okay? So the father, who's wealthy and a lawyer, and the grandfather, who's wealthy lawyers, defend the kid. And ultimately, I don't think the kid is found guilty. I'd have to check that, but I don't think he was. And that really pissed off the families because he was drunk and shouldn't have been driving the boat. So a girl died, and I believe another guy died in that wreck. So that brought the Murdochs into the national view. Now, they were always in South Carolina on everybody's radar because they were the rich family. You didn't want to cross them, that sort of thing. Involved in a lot of projects and all of that. And so the son gets in a boating wreck. Suddenly it's national news story. And the family has a spotlight shown upon them at that point. Well, the father, who is an OxyContin addict and an embezzler, which that's not alleged. He's pled guilty to millions. He would help people get huge settlements. Okay? And then he would manage their money. Oh, well, we'll give you a stipend every year so you don't spend all your money. And then he embezzled it, leaving these victims who won cases without their money. Not much they can do about it. So he's a bad guy. Well, then the housekeeper dies unexpectedly. Oh, she fell down the stairs. This housekeeper, who has worked for them forever, knows all the family secrets, and suddenly she turns up dead. So the son kills people in a boating accident. Then the maid turns up dead. And then just weeks later, guess what? The mother and the son, possibly a year later or whatever, the mother and the son turn up dead on their property. All right? And it's very obvious to everybody that he did it. So he goes to trial. He gets dramatic. When he's captured by the police, he was trying to kill himself and, just all this crap. Drama queen. So he goes to trial. Well, the clerk of the court, okay, she's in charge with transporting the jury and logistics and all that. And I guess she spoke to the jury and said, you don't be fooled by them. Watch the body language, all this kind of stuff. Now, I don't think that would sway someone's opinion to guilty or not guilty. But the South Carolina Supreme Court thinks that it does. And so because the clerk, who later left her job, wrote a book, had to pay money because she wrote a book with inside information and all this other crap, well, now she's the villain, not Murdoch, the double murderer and the embezzler and the OxyContin freak. No, he's not the villain anymore. He's the victim of this horrible clerk who said inappropriate things to the jury. So the prosecutor, who is now running for governor of South Carolina, has pledged they will retry the case. And I am quite sure that another jury will find him guilty of both murders because, honey, from everything I heard in that courtroom, and I watched the trial, guilty as sin. So how did he get them overturned? Because he's rich and white. His family is well respected. His grandfather was rich. He's rich. He's white. I mean, how many black people, brown people, people of color could even get that far in the appellate process? But because he's a rich white guy, all of a sudden, overturned. Now, he's going to have to stay in jail until the new trial. The judge did not release him because he already confessed to embezzling millions of dollars from his clients. So he's staying in jail on those charges. He'll be retried on the murder charges by the state, and I'm quite convinced he'll be convicted again, which he'll appeal again. And he's probably going to be appealing things until he dies, which is his right, but, I fully believe he did it. But just like Trump, he lives in a different world. Rich people, they just live in a different world. And that world doesn't have a lot of accountability. They don't have to pay for their actions. There's no repercussions. Donald Trump has committed crime after crime after crime in public. And where is he today? Off meeting with a Chinese emperor. Or, president, leader, whatever they call him. The great leader, Xi Jinping. With people like Tim Cook. 10 billionaire CEOs are with him. Now, they'll announce big deals with China and big this with China. None of it will happen. I watched on the BBC how they're going to make a lot of announcements. That's why he brought these CEOs, to make Trump look good. Oh, look, we're doing business with China. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. China's going to invest in this. They're going to do that. And then ultimately, not a lot of that's going to happen. Okay? But again, they don't care. Michael Jackson had it right when he said, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us. They don't care about us. Donald Trump said it out loud. I don't think about America's finances when I'm negotiating with Iran. That's all he should fucking be thinking about. The financial health of his country. That's the only thing he should be thinking about outside of climate change, upholding the Constitution, all that kind of stuff. But he just came out and said, nah. Because he's rich and white, just like Murdoch. Rich, white people, they are entitled. They can say whatever they want, and other poor, and the funniest thing is that MAGA, which usually doesn't have a pot to piss in, okay, just the poorest of the poor, they're going to support his statement and say, well, he shouldn't worry about our money. He should worry about nuclear weapons. And if you ask them why a nuclear Iran is dangerous to America, they ain't got nothing to say. Because a nuclear Iran is no threat to America. It's only a threat to Israel. That's it. That's all. But Donald Trump is rich and white and entitled and a fraudster. Remember the Trump phone? He was selling the Trump phone. It never got produced. Not one unit got sold, and there's no refunds. A grift. He is a grifter. Alex Murdoch, a grifter. Most rich white men are grifters. Alex Murdoch is a grifter. He grifted his clients out of millions of dollars to support his lifestyle of OxyContin and lavish parties. Meanwhile, when the going got hard, what was his solution? To kill people, just like Donald Trump. When Donald Trump wants to distract you from things, what does he do? Kill people. Let's bomb boats off of Venezuela, then take their president. And now he wants to make Venezuela the 51st state. Why? Oil. That's the only reason. He doesn't care about the Venezuelans. He cares about their oil. Why? Because he's rich and entitled. And everything he does is a grift. Everything. Just like Alex Murdoch. Everything he does was a grift. And there are many a black person sitting in jail right now on shady convictions where there was far more tampering than went on in his case, sitting there going, are you fucking kidding me? And they ain't surprised. The black guys in jail, they're not surprised that Alex Murdoch's convictions get turned over and theirs don't. They're not surprised. Why? Because they know that rich, entitled white guys usually always win. And let's stop pretending like bad things happen to bad people. It's the contrary. Good things typically happen to only bad people. Good things typically only happen to bad people. I can't think of too many good things happening to very good people. That's why when we see those stories, we get all thrilled. You know, we see the heartwarming story about a good person finally getting something they deserve, a windfall of money or support of some kind or some kind of happiness. It's rare that good things happen to good people. The truth is, good things happen to bad people. Why? Because they can afford it. Because they live in a world where they make good things happen to them. Winning the presidency of the United States is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It didn't happen to Kamala Harris, who appears to be a much better person than Donald Trump. No, it happened to Donald Trump. It happened to George W. Bush. It happened to Ronald Reagan. These are all bad people. But good things happened to them. Why? These were rich people. You know, having your murder conviction overturned and going back to trial is a good thing. Who did it happen to? A very bad person. Not someone sitting on death row that was convicted years ago in some sort of racist or misogynistic court. Nope, nope. Happened to the white guy with all the money. Good things typically happen to bad people. Why? Because they can afford it. And so as we have our president out there saying, I don't consider Americans' finances when I'm negotiating with Iran. Really? Because you consider yours? Donald Trump has made millions of dollars off the war with Iran. Oh, not directly. His minions, his children. They're making millions of dollars gaming the system, knowing what daddy's about to say, so they invest in this or that. Millions. You know, the only good thing is that Alex Murdoch has not made any money off of the sale of his story and all of that, because he can't. That's the only good thing about that trial. But of course, the wife and kid are dead, and the other son, I believe, is an unconvicted and unindicted murderer, or had something to do with the death of the gay guy. I fully believe the other son was having an affair with the gay guy. The gay guy threatened to go public, and they ran him over on a road and left him to die. There are many documentaries that claim Murdoch's son did that. Not the son that got in the boating accident, but the good son. And how is he walking free? He got money. He got people that'll lie for him. He got cops that aren't vigilant about finding the murderer of some gay kid found on the side of the road. I mean, they have no impetus to, solve that crime. It wasn't like it was a rich kid. Just some middle-class gay kid found dead on the side of the road. Everything points to the Murdoch child doing it, but no direct proof, so can't prove it, so, oh well. Tell the mom, we're sorry, but we're never going to know who killed your kid. And Murdoch might get off in the second trial. You never know. He's got the money. He's got the good lawyers. It's like Donald Trump. Nothing sticks to him. Crime after crime. I mean, he incited an insurrection on national TV in front of God and everybody. What happened to him? He got reelected. He incited an insurrection. Oh, and yesterday the court told him he didn't have to pay the $83 million to E. Jean Carroll until the Supreme Court takes up the case or denies the case. But until the Supreme Court, which is in his pocket, determines whether or not they're going to take the case, the payment of $83 million is on hold to E. Jean Carroll. He just has to post a $7 million bond for the interest. Why? Because he's a rich white guy. She went to court. She won her judgment. She proved her case. He's never had to pay her a cent. Why? Because he's tied it up, and now they're ruling his way. Well, of course they are. He appointed the judges. Rich white people are running amok. And what are we doing? Not much. Not much talk. But I know something that triggers them. I do. We are going to talk about that when we return here on the Wednesday edition of The Karel Show. Don't forget to become a patron and support the show. Oh, I was reading the chat room just then. The twice impeached President Trump, who, just seems to win. Just seems to win all the time. He just wins. And it's, I don't want to say it's disheartening, because we're used to it, right? We're used to it. We're used to the rich winning and us not. We're used to that. It's like throughout history. It's funny how the rich influence things, and they do. Today, in 1685, use the Wayback Machine. So Cardinal Richelieu, I'm sure you've heard the name, 17th century cardinal, and Cardinal Richelieu. Cardinal Richelieu did not like that people came to his dinners and sat at his table and took their pointy steak knives and picked their teeth. That'd drive me crazy too. I'd be like, no, you are not at the table. So it bothered him. It bothered him they did that. And so Cardinal Richelieu said, I'll fix them. He told his silver makers, because he had silver makers, he told his silver makers to round the edges of the steak knives, to take every knife at his table and round the top edge so people couldn't pick their teeth, thus inventing the table knife or the butter knife. Cardinal Richelieu. The table knife with the round, you have them in your drawer right now. Knives with rounded edges. You have them in your drawer. Why? Why do you have them? Because a rich aristocrat was annoyed with people picking their teeth with the pointed steak knives, so he had the ends rounded so they couldn't. And voila! The table knife was born, and it spread. But it was Cardinal Richelieu who invented the rounded table knife. Why? Because he was annoyed. He was annoyed at other people picking their teeth at the table. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? The rich, they influence a lot of stuff that we do. They really do. And some of it's not bad. I mean, it's not terrible that we have the butter knife, so I'm not mad at Cardinal Richelieu for what he did. But again, it was a very wealthy aristocrat who just got annoyed and had the resources. Why do we have handles on teacups? Did you ever wonder why? The Japanese don't have handles on teacups. The Chinese don't have handles on teacups. Why do we have handles on teacups? Because Queen Victoria wanted to have high tea with Duchess Anna Russell. And her dish makers didn't want her to burn her fingers when touching the teacup. So they put a handle on it, so the nice, delicate ladies could have tea at 4 in the afternoon and not burn their fingers. And then the commoners found out, and what do commoners love to do? Emulate the wealthy. That's why we have rounded butter knives. And so the commoners wanted to emulate Queen Victoria's tea, so suddenly they started buying teacups with handles on them. But it was because Queen Victoria didn't want to burn her lovely little fingers, which is why we have handles on teacups. Yeah, the rich, they influence a lot, don't they? And so here we have Donald Trump saying, I don't think about the Americans' financial situation when I'm negotiating. Well, of course you don't. The last time you pumped gas, cars were electric. I know most of you don't get that joke, but in 1892 to 1930, 40% of cars were electric. The first automobiles, the very first cars, were electric. So why are they gas-powered? Because a rich guy who wanted to make money off of fossil fuel convinced auto manufacturers like himself, since his name was Henry Ford, that cars should have an internal combustion engine. Yes, it was Henry Ford who put us back on gasoline. Prior to that, cars were electric. In the late 1800s, cars were electric. Had we stayed on the path of the invention, we wouldn't be in this mess. We wouldn't care about Iran. Had we had electric cars like we had from the get-go, had a rich person not screwed it up for everybody because they wanted to make money, we'd have electric cars. You see the theme here? Rich people just get to decide for all of us, not just for them. When they make a decision, it's for all of us. Because again, they don't care. Henry Ford didn't care about the financial situation of the people buying his cars. He cared about his financial situation. The oil companies, his friends who were oil barons, the rubber manufacturers. From the get-go, they could make tires that never wore out. From the get-go. They did not have to make tires that wear out. But they decided that it was far better business if you made parts on cars that didn't last. That's why there's all these industries around fixing cars. Because rich people wanted it that way. There's just a billion things that we do in our lives that we do because rich people want us to do it. That's the reason. They make the technology inaccessible to us. There's so much technology right now that would benefit our lives a billion times over, but we'll never see it because either A, they can't market it, or B, it's cheap. I have always said, if they found a cure for AIDS, they would never release it because of PrEP and protease inhibitors. Why would you let a drug go out that they could take for a week or two and be cured, as opposed to a drug they've got to take their whole life? Why would you cure cancer? I know they're trying to, but are they really? Why would you cure it when the treatment can make you a fortune? Curing disease is not profitable. Treating disease is. And there are so many prescription drugs that you could take a natural alternative for and not take the prescription drug. But why doesn't the doctor tell you about the natural, cheap alternative instead of writing you a script? Because the drug company's got to make money. All right, when we come back, MAGA is always triggered. But there's one thing that truly triggers.
Broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast. driving you home, or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast, driving you home or driving you crazy.
Now it's your time.
All right. We're going to talk about how easy it is to trigger MAGA as this new edict from Iran about FIFA comes in. But I just want to remind you, become a patron at patreon.com/reallykarel. You know, I think a lot about the show. I do. You know, you never hear David Pakman or Steph Miller. Well, you do hear David Pakman. I think a lot about the show. My show should be heard by a lot more people. It's number 243 in the United States today, but it should be heard by a lot more people. I'm an interesting person with a lot to say. And it's not. YouTube doesn't push it out because of the content, because I'm gay and I'm liberal. And they deny it. I have spoken to people, Alex Jenke I've spoken to at YouTube, and he denies that that's how it works, but we know that's how it works. They don't push out my content because I am gay and I am liberal. They don't push out a lot of content because, and I'm a gay man. If I were a woman, totally different. Like the girls that do the liberal chicks that do the podcast too. They're two beautiful women and they do a liberal podcast, the politics girl and I forget who the two ladies are, but they're very wonderful. And I do the same topics they do, the same way they do. But they're straight, white, blonde, beautiful women. So they get pushed out. Gay guy? Nope. Gay guy with a lisp? Nope. And I think about the show because yesterday I spent the afternoon recording a new song. And I may re-record it tomorrow, but I had a great time. Such a good time. And it goes with the topic we're going to talk about. And I thought to myself, you know, I could spend my days doing this if I could get paid. And because of Keith Olbermann. So Keith Olbermann has suspended his podcast for a while. He's going on hiatus. Why? Because he has atrial fibrillation. I have atrial fibrillation. I was in the ICU last April for 2 days with atrial fibrillation. It is scary and I hate it. I have not had an ablation, but that's because I'll go a year or two without AFib and then bam, be in it for 3 days and then come out of it. So I haven't had them go in my groin and use radio waves to scar my heart. And you know, that's an invasive procedure. So I haven't done it. Keith Olbermann has gone on drugs and they're talking about shocking him, which means he's in constant AFib. There's a couple types of AFib. There's paroxysmal, which is what I have. And you should know about this because many people have AFib and don't get it treated. There's paroxysmal, where it comes and goes. It can just come out of the blue, it happens, and then it goes away. And then there's constant. There's symptomatic. So he must have symptomatic, where he is constantly in AFib. And they will shock him. He has to go on Eliquis. He didn't say Eliquis, but he said he's taking medications to make sure he doesn't get a stroke. That's Eliquis. I'm just on an aspirin. He is on Eliquis, I'm sure. And then he's on a rhythm pill, either metropolol, propafenone, amiodarone. There's several. I'm sure they're going to try him on those. If that doesn't work, they'll shock him. If it goes back into rhythm, they'll leave him alone and just put him on meds. If it doesn't, they'll do an ablation. Sometimes you have to have 2 ablations. AFib is not fatal. The stroke that it can cause is fatal. Stress is a trigger. And Keith Olbermann said he is putting his show on hiatus for a month or 2 because he is too invested in Trump and the world, and it gets him too stressed out, and that hurts the AFib. Well, I could say the same thing. As you guys know, I get very passionate about these topics. And MAGA pisses me off, and Trump drives me fucking insane. And I wish I could not care. I wish it didn't hurt me when I hear him say, I don't care about the finances of Americans. I wish that didn't anger me and get me so mad. I wish that when I hear Mike Johnson speak, I didn't want to just shove something down his smug little throat. I wish that when I see Carolyn Levitt speak, that I don't want the media to literally just walk out of the room and leave her talking to herself. I get angry too much. Every day I get angry. And yeah, it affects my heart. And so Keith Olbermann is taking a hiatus until his AFib is adequately treated.
If you're not visiting reallykarel.com daily, you're missing out. Get the podcast, videos, and the blog, including recipes at reallykarel.com. That's really KAREL.com.
Showtime is here, no time to fear. Karel is so near because showtime is here. So on with the show, let's give it a go. Karel is the one that you need to know.
Talk about a scam. Eliquis is a scam. My copay on Eliquis, is $350. That's my copay, okay? I got my first bottle of it for free through the program they offer. I have not taken it. My cardiologist said, you don't need it. The hospital prescribed it. That is overkill. It doesn't treat AFib. It's just a blood thinner. And as active as I am, he thought, no. You're going to bump yourself or bruise yourself. You're going to bleed. He's like, no, just keep on the aspirin. And, so Eliquis is a ripoff. That drug shouldn't cost $300 for copay. No drug should. No drug should cost that much. So we're talking about triggers, okay? So stress is a trigger for AFib, which is why Keith Olbermann is putting his show on hiatus. I should probably do the same, but here I am. But talk about triggered. My cousin in Texas is MAGA. And yesterday he was complaining about some stuff. I barely talked to him via text, and he was complaining about some stuff. And I said, oh, man up and stop being such a damn snowflake. Well, by calling him a snowflake, I got a flurry of text. I'm not a snowflake, blah, 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 on and on and on. I mean, text after, he was triggered. And I even said, oh, I forgot how triggered you MAGA get when someone calls you out for being snowflakes. Oh, comics should be able to say whatever they want, but Jimmy Kimmel says something, cancel. They're snowflakes. And nothing triggers snowflakes more than this, than the rainbow flag, honey. Nothing triggers snowflakes more than the rainbow flag. Nothing. Yesterday, Iran demanded that FIFA remove any and all rainbow flags, okay? Any and all rainbow flags from any stadium where they're competing. Why? First of all, fuck you, Iran, you backwards motherfuckers. First thing. Second of all, why does a rainbow flag or a rainbow crosswalk trigger MAGA so fucking much? Why? You're allowed, MAGA flies Confederate flags. Flags of a defeated enemy, where if you fly it, you should be put in jail for treason. Because you are flying the flag of people who turned on America. Traitors. And yet MAGA has no problem with the Confederate flag. At MAGA rallies, people have flown a flag with a swastika on it. They had no problem with that. Donald Trump didn't denounce them. In fact, he called them very nice people. But a rainbow flag or a rainbow crosswalk, are these people afraid of color? I mean, what is it? I saw an interesting article, tangent, but I saw an interesting article that the world is losing its color. They compared houses, phones, other products. They compared cityscapes to from the 50s to now. We used to be so colorful. Cell phones came in various colors. Kitchen things, Tupperware and appliances were various colors. Houses were various colors. And now everything's gray, black, white. We're losing color in the world. I saw a whole article yesterday, so interesting, about how we are blanding it up. Look around. Look around your world for the next couple of days. Do you see a lot of color? You don't. Just don't. So it appears these colors completely trigger MAGA. Sends them over the... And why? Well, it's what it symbolizes. Okay, what does it symbolize? Gay people. Yes. Why do gay people trigger you so much? Did someone give you a blowjob once with teeth? I mean, what? Why is MAGA so triggered by gay people? More than anyone, and I've been a gay man for, 50 years out of my 63, came out when I was 13 in 7th grade. Why does being gay trigger conservatives so much that they can't even see a rainbow? Just drives them over the edge. Ban the flags, ban the sidewalks, take down the rainbow at the Stonewall Monument. What's so triggering about a rainbow? Oh, it represents gayness. What's so triggering about gayness? If you don't want to be gay, don't be gay. If you don't want to marry a same-sex person, don't marry a same-sex person. If you don't want to date someone of the same gender, don't date someone of the same gender. If you don't want to have sex with someone of the same gender, don't. It's not like we're out there trying to recruit like the Mormons. We don't go door to door like the Mormons and try to get you, we don't go on missions knocking on your door. We're like Jews. We keep it quiet. We don't go out and push ourselves on other people. Well, you're gay and you push your gayness on us. Yeah, like you push your heterosexuality on me. Every TV ad, every TV show, every relationship on every TV show. Hell, on The Boys, Frenchie, so gorgeous. Spoiler alert, by the way. Frenchie, who is bisexual on The Boys, they just killed him off. Now, granted, he dies in the comic book, but they're not sticking to the comic book. So which character did they choose to kill? The bisexual one. Why? Because if you're gay or bi in a movie, you're going to die. Why? Because you trigger people, obviously. I have always wondered why me being gay triggers so many people. Program directors. I do a great show, but when I go in, the only thing they talk about is my gayness. Not my lisp, not my political views, nothing. Nope, just my gayness. If I had $1 for every time my gayness was an issue, I wouldn't need to do this show, honey. I would be as rich as Elon Musk. And so, ban rainbow flags, ban sidewalks, no rainbow flags at soccer matches. What is wrong with showing equality for LGBTQ people? Which, by the way, young people 18 to 35, 18% identify as gay, or bi, or trans, or queer. And on average, that we've risen up to 8% of the population. But if you break it down by age, 18% of people between the ages of 18 and 35 say that they identify as LGBTQ. Why are older people so fucking triggered by being gay? MAGA gets triggered at everything. A comic says a bad joke, MAGA's triggered. Right now on Instagram and TikTok, my videos have yesterday I got called a what was it? A race betraying faggot. Oh yeah, under an Instagram video. And the video wasn't even that controversial. And the person said, "You race betraying faggot." That's a person who's triggered. People that kill trans people for no other reason than they're trans. What would trigger you about a person's sexuality or sexual identity so much? And what triggers people about trans people? What are they so frickin' afraid of? That someone's going to come and lob off their penis? Not going to happen. With most of them, it's so small you'd need a microscope anyway. So I have never understood this. These are the most triggered snowflakes in the world. And yet the stuff they should be triggered about, like their guy saying, "I don't care about your finances," or their guy being in the Epstein files more than Christ is in the Bible, that doesn't trigger them. But throw up one of these, Oh, and that's that. That's it. This triggers MAGA more than a pedophile. Figure that out. This triggers MAGA more than someone that commits treason. This triggers MAGA more than someone that profits off of their hardship. Explain that. And of course you can't. There's no logic to how triggered MAGA becomes. Jimmy Kimmel. You say those two words and you might as well be saying Hillary Clinton. You know? Gavin Newsom. Jimmy Kimmel. These are words put together that trigger MAGA so much, and they don't even know why they're triggered. They're just trained. They're like a dog trained to bark. Bark at the rainbow flag. Bark at the trans people. Bark at the bark at the liberals. They are literally trained to bark at various things, and they don't even frickin' know why. They don't know why. You know? You know? It is so ridiculous. Well, a lot of you are going on the, let's see. Fundamentalists believe the biblical creation and the Bible is a work of fiction. Anyone that quotes the Bible as a reason for them being discriminatory, automatically I'd tune out. The Bible is a work of fiction written by men. If there were a deity, they don't write books. They save that for Stephen King. Okay, so they, or Dante or whomever. Name your author. Maya Angelou writes books, not Christ. So the biblical argument, and by the way, there is no biblical argument against homosexuality. None. Every true biblical scholar will tell you it is never mentioned in the Bible at all, ever. They totally misinterpret Leviticus when they say thou shalt not lie with man. They were actually talking about pedophiles. But in the translations, because remember there's been 6 Bibles. 6 interpretations of the Bible. The most recent being by a king named James. The Bible as written today is not the Bible of 1,000 years ago. So it's all just hogwash. A bunch of stories. It might as well be the tales of Hans Christian Andersen. So no such thing as biblical objections. Let's see what else is in the chat room. You know what they're all talking about in there? They're not talking about what triggers MAGA or the rainbow flag. They're talking about me talking about no color. About how there is no color. School uniforms now. White, gray, or black. White, gray, or black. That's it. School uniforms. Can't wear colors. Can't wear beautiful colors. Can't wear flowery prints. White, gray, or black. And look at their schools. Go into a school right now. You'll see no color. The classrooms are not colorful. The hallways are... Our lockers at Long Beach Poly were green and gold because those were our school colors. You don't see that anymore. I want you to start paying attention when you go into restaurants, when you go into grocery stores, anywhere you go, look around. We are losing color. And we're becoming so drab. I'm wearing a pink shirt. That's rare. You don't see a ton of pink shirts. We're losing color. And I think as we lose color in the world, we're losing beauty. I do. I think that we are becoming very monochromatic because we are becoming that kind of society like 1984. In an authoritarian regimes, there's no color. Communist regimes, all of that, their uniforms, their state buildings, all of it. Look at Hitler. Brown. Drab brown. That was the color of his uniforms. Just taupe. And then everything was black and gray. Everything he built was black and gray and concrete. Very minimalist. What was that? What was that famous, the movie with Adrian Brody about that architect? What was his name? That's going to bother me. Famous architect, built enormous buildings, drab. What was his name? Let me just type in Adrian Brody architect character. Adrian Brody architect movie. There we go. A lot of people wonder about it. Laszlo Toth, a Jewish the brutalist. That's it. Brutalist. That's what Hitler was. He liked the brutalist designs. And I don't get it. With a drab. And you know what? Being triggered by this, I really think it goes to the whole drab world thing. A rainbow is very colorful, and gays are very colorful. Drag queens are very colorful. And we are in a drab world. And where color offends MAGA. Skin color, flag color. MAGA is offended by anything not white. I mean, they hate black so much, most of them shave their heads. You know, because they have black hair. Truly, MAGA is colorless. Their hat is red. That's it. That's it. That's the only color they wear. A red hat.
Patreon is the way to show you care. Subscribe today if you dare. Keep the show on there. Patreon is the way. Now it's showtime.
So rainbow flags trigger MAGA. And color, look, the old Soviet Union, no color, drab. Go to Germany and look at a lot of their buildings. I've been. Drab. No color. We're losing color in the world. I wish I could find that article. Let me search for it. I'll do in the news. Losing color in the world. Are we losing colors? Emotional politics of desaturation. See? Minimalists took over, but was it worth losing color? Lots of stories about this. Lots. Is the world losing its love of color? Experts weigh in. This is a major story that most of you just didn't even read. I read it. From luxury branding to tech gadgets, real estate staging to wardrobe choices, one trend has quietly swept across industries and continents. A growing allegiance to neutral, desaturated tones. Gray, beige, white, and black have become the dominant language of marketing and design, replacing the warm tones and saturated reds, greens, and blues of decade past. Remember Harvest Gold for appliances? Or green, avocado green, and Harvest Gold. Almost every appliance in the 60s was either Harvest Gold or avocado green. Now, stainless steel gray. Everything. Stainless steel gray. All of it. It is a shift that's not simply aesthetic. It is psychological, cultural, and deeply revealing about modern life. In times of uncertainty, including economic upheaval, climate anxiety, and digital overload, neutral offers a sense of calm and control. They act as visual white noise, creating psychological safety and simplifying our surroundings. The widespread move toward color neutrality, particularly gray, reflects more of our changing taste. It's, according to the experts, a barometer of our collective anxiety and a mirror of our curated digital-first identities. Minimal aesthetics, once the domain of high-end branding, are now inescapable across consumer products and interior design, symbolizing safety and order in a chaotic world. Wow. We feel safer in neutral colors because they don't challenge our brain. So when we see white, gray, or beige, it's not offensive and we feel safer. Wow. Wow. I'm really into this topic. The cultural change came into sharp focus through a viral post by Instagram users, which compared the bright, diverse palettes of past decades of cars, homes, fashion, and film to today's monochromatic and cool tone visuals. Wow. They analyzed over 7,000 items in the UK Science Museum, revealing a steady desaturation of colors over the last 100 years. The decline accelerated in the 20th century as mass manufacture favored uniformity and cost efficiency. In 2020, gray was the most common color in the world. Wow. 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 And they say partly because our memory is monochrome. Mine isn't. Do you dream in color? How many of you dream in color? I dream in color and black and white. I dream in both. And I can see in black and white. Not a lot of people can. Can you see in black and white? I can see. Right now, I am looking at the lights and the monitors in front of me, and in my brain, I'm seeing it all in black and white. And that's because I'm a photographer and videographer, and I need to know what it will look like in black and white, so my brain does it. I am literally looking at this scene right now, and I see it in my brain in black and white. Yep, I can do that. And I tell you, it's drab. And I think that's why they boycott the rainbow flag so much. This is vibrant and alive, and a reminder that the gay community is vibrant and alive. They want gray, monotone, controlled, easy. They don't care about color. And as we lose color in the world, in this Newsweek article, authoritarian governments go for lacks of color. Oligarchies, no color. Dictatorships, no color. Even in Africa, which is a colorful nation with their garb and such, when it's an authoritarian governor or president, they wear black suits. Liberals in Africa wear the bright colors and the African colors. Conservatives, black suits. We're losing color, and now rainbows trigger people. What a weird, weird world we live in, isn't it though? All right, tomorrow is, I like mid-century. I like oranges and yellow, and that's why I love Mexico. You know, today we declared war on Mexico back in the 1800s, and the Mexican-American War started today. And I thought to myself, Trump's trying to start another one. But when you go to Mexico, there's so much color. There'll be neighborhoods where one house is orange, one house is green, one house is purple. I love it. I absolutely love it. And the strange part is, in their newer cities, in the newer places in Mexico, there's not a lot of color. They're going gray, black, white, beige. In old Mexico, lots of color. Lots of color. India, very colorful nation. Maybe that's why I like India and Indians. They wear colorful garb. Color is important. You know, color stimulates the mind, creativity. You know, we just found out that you can be 1 to 2 years biologically younger by looking at art, singing, acting, or dancing. So either participating in the arts or viewing the arts. They did a study. You are biologically younger if you do those things. And what do a lot of those things have? Color, vibrance, life. Life is color. And even with people, we don't like colored people. White people in America. Black, brown, yellow, no. White, yes. We don't love color anymore on anything. I am Karel. Be who you want to be. Found to hurt anybody. We'll be back tomorrow for our final show of the week. Maybe.
It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service. You're listening to the Karel Cast, driving you home or driving you crazy. It's broadcasting from a completely different point of view. Yours. Listen daily to the Karel Cast on your favorite streaming service.